DHammy Presents. AS2 digital technology full revision video tailored towards SCIA but will suit every other spec in any kingdom. Application software will be our first topic. Application software is designed to enable an end user to complete a specific type of task. Its general purpose is when the software is designed to solve users' common or general tasks using a computer system, such as word processors and spreadsheets. The special purpose is that the software application is developed for a user for a task very specific to them. Example, invoicing a system for a shipping company is no use to an example. Custom built is when the software solution is specifically designed for a user. The advantage is that user requirements are met, but the disadvantage is that long time to develop, increased cost, and there's minimal user support. Off the shelf is when the software that can be bought from retail. Advantage is that it's immediately available for use, wide range of support, reduced cost, and it's easier for staff training. But disadvantage is that the user interface is unnecessarily complex. The content is distributed electronically using the internet or streaming, or can be downloaded for use on supporting hardware device. Downloading is a guaranteed access to the application at any time, and access is not dependent on having a broadband link, but the application does require space on device's back-end storage device. Web access is when you store data file on the internet with little consideration to storage but need a broadband line each time to access, and any issues with the broadband impact on availability of the application. But the most up-to-date version must be used when using, as all updates are applied directly to the application. Proprietary is when someone retains the right to the source code for the application and is copyright protected. Its limits are imposed upon use and distribution and modification. The organisation is responsible for the development of the app and it maintains exclusive control over it. An example is Windows, Adobe and Skype. Advantage is that regular updates and support are readily available, but disadvantage is that bug fixes are slow, security updates slow, and there's only help available at a specific time. Open source is when the source code is made readily available for other users for editing and redistribution. The license associated grants users permission to use the application for any purpose they wish. And examples are GIMP, Kodi and Firefox. Advantage is that fast fixes to bugs, there's no cost and it's a wide range of support. Disadvantage is that there's too many versions and help is not always available. Architecture is our next topic. This is split into two parts. The central processing unit is a microprocessor and processes data and programs, and it does it by repeatedly fetching instruction from memory and executing it. The three main components are the control unit, the ALU and the IAS. The control unit manages the execution of instructions, usually one at a time and in some sort of order using the fetch execute cycle. It is done by sending control signals to the other parts of the CPU. It has three main jobs by deciding which instruction to carry out next and fetch it from memory, decoding instructions to work out what needs to be done to carry out the instruction, and then finally execute the instruction. The arithmetic logic unit, or the ALU, processes data that requires arithmetical calculation to be carried out, such as addition, multiplication, subtraction, or division. It performs logical comparisons using logical operators and or not. The IAS is referred to as a main memory and stores all the programs and data temporarily whilst in use. The instructions are fetched from the specific storage location in the IAS using address. Registers. The PC program counter is a CPU register that stores the address of the next instruction to be fetched, as many program instructions are ordered in the sequence program, and the counter is automatically incremented by 1 each time the instruction is fetched. Therefore, the program counter points to the next instruction address in sequence. The MAR is the address of current instructions or data being executed, and they're temporarily held in the MAR. The MDR temporarily stores data being fetched from or written to the main memory of the CPU, and all data transferred from the memory to the CPU goes via the MDR. The instruction register temporarily stores current instruction to be decoded and then executed by being fetched from the main memory. And the accumulator is a dedicated register part of the ALU when calculations take place on data results stored in the accumulator before transferred and stored in the main memory. Factors affecting the speed of processing. Clock speed, an indicator of the speed at which a CPU can operate and measured in gigahertz, and a representation of how many instruction cycles the CPU can deal with in a second. So 5 gigahertz performs 5 billion instructions in a cycle. Cache is when you store temporarily frequently used instructions and data in small capacity memory, such as between the processor and RAM. The control unit of the CPU automatically checks the cache memory when fetching an instruction, and is quicker to search the cache than the RAM, as the cache has lower storage capacity, so reduced search times, and using cache increases the processor speed. The processor core is a single processor with a known control unit, the ALU, and registers. The fetch execute cycle is describing a basic step a CPU carries out the process and instruction. In the fetch view, the program counter copies the address of the next instruction, which contains the MAR, and it's incremented over and over. The MAR places the address onto the address bus, and then it triggers a read signal causing the main memory to place the instruction asked for onto the data bus. The instruction on the data bus is loaded into the memory data register, and then the MDR copies the instruction into the instruction register. In decode, the CPU examines the instruction and the current instruction register and decodes it, meaning the decode unit makes the rest of the CPU ready to carry out the instruction by issuing micro instructions. Executing the instruction within the instruction register is executed by the CPU, and the execute unit executes the instruction. Read and resetting, the CPU is executing the instruction, the program counter is then reset to the next instruction. Secondary storage is when the stored data in the program files when the power supply is off. Main memory holds items for as long as it's being used by the processor, so it's volatile, and as soon as the power is removed, the data is lost. Magnetic media is when the disk surface is magnetized with a pattern of north and south representing binary data. Disk is using read-write heads operating closer to the surface of the disk, with the magnetic surface containing magnetic readings domains. Each domain is magnetized in one of two polarities to represent a 1 or a 0. Bits of data are arranged in tracks, and tracks are broken up into sectors, with each sector accessed using read-write heads. The disk surface is filled up, and the corresponding track on the surface underneath it is used building up a cylinder of data. Optical media is when a circular disk surface spiral pattern of reflective and non-reflective areas represent binary data. The optical storage is when any storage media data held in digital format read from or written to using a red laser. Data is stored in the form of pitch, which is binary 0, and lands binary 1. They read content by having a light shone onto the surface of the disk from a laser, and the pit reflects light dimmer than a land. So a diode is used to measure the difference in reflectivity to determine if it's a 1 or a 0. Write using a laser beam. When you write 1, the laser beam is on and turns the pit up, but if you want to write a 0, the laser beam is off, so no pit is burned. CD-ROM is when data is read directly from any part of the CD, with CD read and CD rewrite. The CD read uses a layer made of special die-changing properties when hit by the right laser. CD rewrite is a different level of heat applied to the disk surface, so converts the surface back to the original analog state before new contents are written onto the disks. The dual-layer DVD places another semi-transparent layer on top of the original angle of the layer, altered focusing either the bottom layer or the top layer when reading the data. DVDs and Blu-rays have a higher capacity as reflective and non-reflective areas are closer together, so the spiral pattern is arranged and is tighter. Flash media, so SSD stands for solid state drives and are non-volatile. Normal transistors is free main component, source, drain, and control gate. The transistor operates like a pipe used to carry electricity from the source to the drain. The control gate is closed and it's off, and the binary is 0, but if it's open, then the binary is 1. The flash transistor is a floating gate above the control gate, and it's insulated from the rest of the transistor, storing some electrical charge representing binary data. Tunneling is when the negative charge is applied to the wrapped energy, and it automatically starts to drain and release, thereby erasing data. ASCII and Unicode. A character is a letter or digit or special character found on a keyboard. Character sets are a set of symbols that may be represented in a computer at any particular time. Symbols are called characters and are classified as letters, digits, spaces, or punctuation marks. ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Unicode is a worldwide character standard, replacing the need for all different character sets, incorporating characters from the majority of all the world's alphabets and languages. ASCII uses 7 bits representing 128 characters with 32 controlled and 96 displayable characters, but it can represent up to 256 characters using the 8th bit called extended ASCII, but the 8th bit is usually used for error checking. Unicode uses 16 bits representing 65,536 characters, providing a much better range, and it is used to represent characters from most of the world's languages. Data compression. Data compression is a process associated with reducing the memory or storage required by large files. Zipping is the process of compressing data files using the algorithm LZW, reducing memory or storage required by large files. LZW algorithm looks for repeating patterns in the data being compressed. The advantages is that it reduces the physical size of a data file, it saves storage space, it decreases transmission times and download times and upload times, it allows more data files to be uploaded along with portable devices and less storage space. A TXT file or a text file is lines of electronic text, no formatting information, and it's often used to store information requiring further processing by another application. A WAV waveform audio file has sampling, which stores a digital representation of a recorded analog sound signal. The quality of the sound is dependent on the frequency of the sampling and the number of bits and resolution sampled. WAV is usually uncompressed. MPEG or Motion Picture Experts Group uses delta compression to record and transmits the data representing audio and video files. BMP or bitmap has each pixel forming part of the overall image held as a bitmap in memory. A bitmap image is produced from tiny squares of colour and their large size so makes websites run slow. JPEG or Joint Picture Experts Group identifies arrangement of pixels which are repeated elsewhere in the image so data needs to be saved once. A GIF or a graphical interchange format is a compression and storage of images using bitmap data. It's an animated version and it has 256 distinct colours represented, minimizing the file size. Bitmap or BMP has image details retained, but the large files are slow download time of the web page. Data about each pixel doesn't scale well and doesn't support compression. JPEG has a resolution reduced using compression techniques, but reduces the file size at the expense of image quality. It loses data whilst compressing, and the common format and flexible storage format for image storage. GIF or GIF has color graphics and HTML documents on the web and least impact and page loading time as max 256 colours with simple illustrations and large blocks of single colour like logos, icons and banners. Their animated graphics and transparency are great for websites. Here's a comparison of all the advantages and disadvantages between text, WAV, bitmap, JPEG, MPEG and GIF. Data representation. All data is stored in a digital format using a number system known as binary. A binary digit is a bit represented by a 0 or a 1 as the smallest unit of storage. When they're grouped together in 8s, they're referred to as a byte, and half a byte is a nibble, so 4 bits. 1024 bytes is 1 kilobyte, 1024 kilobytes is 1 megabyte, 1024 megabytes is a gigabyte, and 1024 gigabytes is a terabyte. The number of bits to determine the number of different values that be represented. So, for example, as 8 bits range from 0 to 255 using 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, and 2. And 1. Consider the lowest value 0 and the highest 255, where the position on the right hand side is the least significant bit, and on the right hand side least significant bit, left hand side most significant bit. To calculate the range for values n number of bits, we can apply the following rule: 0 minus 2n take away 1. Decimal to binary. To do this, you use repeated division by 2, taking a number and keep dividing it by 2 until you get a result of remainder 0 or 1 until you get to an end 0. An example is 41. So 41 divided by 2 is 20 remainder 1, 20 divided by 2 is 10 remainder 0, 10 divided by 2 is 5 remainder 0, 5 divided by 2 is 2 remainder 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1 remainder 0, and 1 divided by 2 is 0 remainder 1. So in a table, the binary of 41 is 100101. And when adding this to a table, you ignore the 64 and 128 towards the left hand side, as they are both greater than 41. Putting binary into a table, an example is 10110011. It's not, the answer isn't 127, but actually 179. Data validation and data verification. Data validation is a check performed by the computer software on data as it enters a computer system at the input stage for processing. The purpose is to trap any data that doesn't conform to certain rules, and it cannot prove that the data entered is the actual value the user intended. Validation types include a range check, which checks the input value against an upper and lower limit. A type check ensures that the data item is of a particular type. A length check is used to check data entered contains its number of characters. A format check is used to ensure a data item matches the previously determined pattern and particular characters have particular values such as letters. A presence check doesn't allow a certain field to remain blank, and a lookup check uses a lookup table with the data value entered by the computer against a stored list of data values, and it looks for a match if the data value is valid but invalid then otherwise. Calculate and check digit. Check digit involves using an extra digit added to numeric data item field used in barcodes placed on products. An example would be 91167. So first you apply weights and check the digit always starts at 1, and then you increase to the left of the product number. Then you multiply the weights by the number to calculate the products. Then 3 you add the products, 4 you divide the total by 11, and then the fifth step is 11 take away the remainder from the division. If the remainder is 1, then your check digit answer is X. If the remainder is 0, then your check digit answer is also 0. Here's an example of a check digit in a table. So the product's added 95 and when divided by 11, and it has an 8 remainder 7, given a check digit of 4 as 11 take away 7 is 4. Batch totals refers to the total value of one or more fields in a batch of data. The control total is a batch total calculated meaningfully, such as total monetary value of all orders during a transaction period. Hash total is a batch total calculated with no other meaning, such as adding all the dates of orders together, producing the total batch of dates. Data verification is used to confirm the integrity of data entered into the system, ensuring the data is consistent and that it has not been corrupted. Transcription errors sometimes occur when copying data to a computer. Transposition errors can sometimes happen when the characters are accidentally swapped around. Double entry is entering data twice into the computer while comparing the two copies to ensure there are no differences. Any differences will be manually corrected, and this effectively doubles the workload, and as most people are paid by the hour, it costs more too. Proofreading is a method involving someone checking the data entered into the computer system perfectly matches against the original source document. This is also time consuming and costly. If the user sees data is correct, they confirm it to the computer. Limitations include a range check, where the data may be valid but incorrect, such as the day entered being 13 but it should be 31. The presence check is the data in the field being valid but not correct, example, forename and the surname. Lookup tables don't have data in the table, so it's not classified. The data verification has the data source unreliable, so the data is checked against the source and not accepted when it should be. Data, information, and knowledge. Data is raw facts and figures that have no meaning. Information is data which has been given a meaning and a context. Knowledge is a result of applying rules to information to allow decisions to be made or allow you to interpret the information. Factors affecting quality of information. Accuracy. So it depends on the use made of the information by a person or organisation. If it's up to date, then the information out of date reduces the quality of information. The complete. So if it refers to a situation where information is missing, such as in the questionnaire. Relevant. If the information presented in a way that is difficult to understand, it loses value. And reliability. If the information is verified, then it's deemed trustworthy. Processing systems. Batch processing is collecting groups of data together for all customers, and data is input into a computer system. Examples are utility bills, payrolls, and banks, and producing monthly bank statements. The master file stores information which doesn't change between bills produced, and the transaction file is a temporary file containing the customer account number used to update the master file. Steps include reading a meter and recording on a collection form, then the customer meter readings are grouped. The information is input to the computer system with the data being validated and errors noted on an error report produced. The data is then checked and errors are amended with a transaction file being created with the data. The transaction file is sorted in the same order as the master file, so the file matches the records. The sorted transaction file is then saved, and a master and transaction file calculate the bill and print the bill. The details are on the transaction file, updating the master file, and this is saved as a new master file. Customers then receive the latest electricity bill, and a newly created master file calculates the bill in the next quarter. The advantages of this is that it can be carried out overnight without the need for human intervention, but disadvantages is that the master file isn't always up to date, and when a batch job is started, it takes a long time to complete. Real-time processing is when data is processed quickly enough to meet a real-world deadline and react fast enough to influence behaviour in the outside world. For example, missile guidance systems. Latency is an input request dealt with quickly enough so it's able to control output properly. Advantages is that input data is processed almost immediately and it carries out jobs humans can't. Disadvantage is that the system downtime impacts processing immediately and it's expensive to buy. An automatic teller machine or an ATM has two main input devices, the card reader and keypad, and the output devices are the display screen, printed feedback in form of a receipt, and auditory feedback when incorrect option is selected. Point of sale terminal has input devices of a barcode scanner, numeric keypad, scales, and card readers. The output devices are auditory feedback and printing devices. Smartphones have a touch-sensitive screen with the keypad and integrated microphones and voice recognition when entering instruction and a high-resolution camera. The GPS global positioning system listens for data from the phone provider and determines effects with the location used with specialized apps. Storage devices. The need for secondary storage is because RAM is volatile and the programs are currently being stored disappear once the power is lost, so secondary storage retains the program to copy the programs. Secondary storage devices are the physical hardware that carries out storage action, and storage media is a physical object that is used to actually store the data. Magnetic storage is when a hard disk or magnetic tape contains several platters in the spindle spinning at a high rate and the read-write heads floating above the surface. The advantage is that a huge capacity offers up to several terabytes per device, and the hard disk offers high-speed data access with the hard disk offering random access to data. Disadvantage is that the hard disk has mechanical moving parts, so less rugged than the solid storage device, and the magnetic tape uses serial data access, so it's very slow and data read-write heads are not as fast as flash. Optical storage has a laser beam burning tiny pits onto the surface of an optical disc. The advantage is that it's cheap if it's less than 10 gigabytes, it needs to be stored per media item, it's very portable compared to the hard disk, and it's immune to magnetic fields. The disadvantage is that it's not cheap if it's terabytes needed, it's not as portable as flash, it's easily scratched, and it cannot write over stored data. Solid state media are flashed and hold data using electronic switches, open if a 1 and closed if a 0. The advantage is that it's very portable in the form of SD and USB, it's very tough and rugged as there's no moving parts, and SSD are silent unlike hard disks. The disadvantage is that the SSD is expensive compared to the hard disk of a similar capacity, and is less durable than a hard disk. System software. An operating system is a program controlling the operation of a computer system, managing the hardware and software resources of a system, and allows the end user to interact with the computer. Examples include Windows and Mac OS. Single user, single task is when one user can effectively do any one thing at any one time. Single user multitasking is when a multiple number of programs are running at any given time. And multi-user is when more than one user gains access to facilities provided by a powerful computer. It supports the use of computer's facilities by many different users at any one time using a network. All user requests are dealt with in a way ensuring they don't interfere with each other. Multiprocessing is the use of two or more processors in one computer system, with two or more different portions of the same program carried out simultaneously. Processors work together handling specific data tasks or sharing processing. The advantage is speed. Multitasking is the ability of the OS allowing the user to perform more than one task at any given time. There's only one app running at any one time, and the processor switches automatically from one task to the next. As more tasks are added, the demand on storage is increased, and so the system slows down. Multi-threading is when processors have the ability to carry out different threads from the same app or program at the same time, but for the effective sharing of resources. Threads are processes and independent parts of the processor program being executed, so it's carried out in parallel on a single CPU. Utility programs perform specific tasks related to management of computer function. Common tasks include file sorting, file renaming, file conversion, file repair, and antivirus. Data compression is storing data in a format requiring less space. The reduction of the file size ensures the backup file or archive data takes up less storage space. Lossy compression is removing the redundant or unnecessary data from the file, and lossless compression doesn't remove any information, but the file looks for patterns within the data that allows it to be stored more efficiently. Archiving software is creating a single file containing multiple other files. Archiving involves making a copy of the data or files which are no longer in use, then removing the files from the network of the system, and then storing the files away from the computer. It's ready to be accessed later if required. The benefit is that you have a permanent record, you reduce the data stored in the network, it frees up space for data or files, and improves the performance of the system as there's less files stored. The difference between backing up and archiving is that files backed up, the original data remains in the system, and archiving removes the original when the copy is made. File backup is creating an exact duplicate of the data backup utility program using copies at a later stage, completing the restore in the event of data loss. Disk defragmenters rearranges the files on the disk to ensure they occupy contiguous locations on the disk surface. Two's complement. One is a negative number and 0 is a positive number. If the MSB has a 0, it represents a positive number, but if it has a 1, then it represents a negative number. Rules for adding. 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, but 1 plus 1 is 0, and you carry the 1 to the left. The exam version is writing a number and 2's complement for an 8-bit representation. You then invert the bits and add 1, and you end up with an 8-bit pattern of a negative number after adding all the numbers with a 1 under it that are not 128, and then you add that sum to minus 128. Here's an example of how it should look in a table, and you end up with minus 128 plus 64 plus 16 plus 8 plus 1, and that gives you 89, so it's minus 128 plus 89 equals minus 39. The checking version is starting with the least significant bit, finding the first one, and then inverting all the bits to the left of this digit. The user interface. The user interface is an industrial design of a human-computer interaction and the spaces where interaction between humans and machines occur. Approaches to development of user interface depends on a number of factors, including user ability, the range of input and output devices available, the processor capacity, and the memory capacity. WIMP, or Windows icons, menus, and pointers, is a way of accessing the computer and making minimum use of a keyboard by using a mouse. Windows represent an active area of a computer screen opened up to display some form of activity. Icons are small pictures providing a graphical representation of an application or activity, and it's selected by moving a selection tool over the top and starting through a double clicking on the icon. Menus are used to present an end user with a range of options, and the variety of menus types are presented, such as pop up and pull down. Pointers is when a pointer is moved around a computer screen based on movements by an end user's manipulation of the mouse. The pointer is used to select an item on the screen. Command line interface is when the user types commands and the computer system carries them out. A command is restricted to a single line of text consisting of any sequence of acceptable commands. It's efficient in the hands of experienced users, but frustrating for those who do not know the right commands to use. and the commands are fixed in structure or syntax. Forms dialog box is when the computer outputs separate prompts and response fields for a number of inputs. A prompt message is displayed indicating the user expected to do something, and it's usually input data into a system. They use the following method to secure required input from the end user. Response field. So it's positioned on the form dialog box, and the end user enters a response, moving the cursor from field to field. The prompt appears for the end user where data entry is required, and an error message is the most user-friendly, including diagnostic information for the end user. Here's a comparison between all the different types of user interface. Text input is when the text input using a keyboard such as QWERTY keyboard incorporating letters, digits, and a range of special characters. The pressing or selection of key generates a digital signal representing the character code, and the symbol represents a character printed or displayed on the screen of the device, and the character code is converted into the appropriate symbol. Sound input is when the sound is produced by a vibration of air and electrical output from a microphone consisting of continually varying signal in the form of voltage. Conversion of analog to digital is needed done by sound sampling, which is a special hardware measuring levels of sound many times and then recording this as a numerical value. Video input is a digital video cameras have two main components, a camera for image capturing and a recorder for storing captured video images. Web Technology 1. www or World Wide Web is a system of interlined hypertext documents that are accessed by the Internet web browser. The Internet is a global computer network consisting of interconnected networks using communication protocols. An Internet is a private network that is restricted and requires a username and password in order to log in and gain access. URL or Uniform Resource Locator is a unique address identifying every single resource on the Internet. HTTP or Hypertext Transfer Protocol is a foundation of data communication on the World Wide Web defining how data is structured and transmitted. An IP address or Internet Protocol address is when every computer device or piece of hardware is linked to a computer network using TCP or IP and is identified by a unique IP address. The IP address allows messages and data to be routed to the correct address on the network. Static is a permanent IP address that doesn't change, and a dynamic is a temporary addresses that are assigned each time a computer accesses the Internet. A web browser is software allowing the users to view and use web pages on the Internet, and a web server has a computer designed to deliver Internet web pages across the Internet or within an intranet. Web hosting is a service providing individuals and organizations with access to a web server and web space to store website or web pages. An FTP file transfer protocol is the most common protocol used to transfer files across the Internet between the client and server devices. ISP or Internet Service Provider is directly linked to the Internet and accepts transmission from users over communication lines, and then it passes these on to the Internet. They sell Internet access to companies or individuals. A search engine is a web-based tool searching for information using keywords or criteria, returning results as website links based on criteria provided. Cache is allowing browsers to download website images, data, docs for faster viewing in the future. Cookies are small files downloaded to a computer when visiting a website, storing the previous activity on that site and user preferences. It's used when the user visits that site again. A portal is a website that acts as a main entry point to a group of web services requiring the user to log on and provide a range of services. A website is a collection of HTML pages linked together on the World Wide Web, and a web page is a page of information stored in the World Wide Web. A domain name is a structured label connected to a specific IP address of a server where the web page is being hosted. www.cia.org is a domain name including the name of the host server. .org is a top-level domain. Examples include .com, .org, .gov, and .edu. CA.org is a second-level domain name with the unique on the Internet indicating the owner associated with the IP address, and UK is a country-level domain name. DNS is a domain name system, and it serves as a phone book for connecting IP addresses with corresponding domain names. How DNS works. You enter the domain name browser searching through the DNS system to find the exact IP address of the corresponding website. You then convert the domain name into the corresponding website, which then you convert the domain name into the corresponding IP address. The browser first goes root DNS records to try and name servers, then goes first server on the list to find the actual IP address. Once it's found, the browser knows the IP address and opens the site. Web Technology 2. ITU, or United Nations Specialist Agencies, is responsible for allocating the radio spectrum and satellite or bits and developing standards related to network technology and enables interconnection. The three main areas are radio communications sector, the standardization sector, ITU2 contributing to web standards, and the development sector. ITU2 is used for fixed broadband subscriptions, exchanging warnings about threats, and digital certificates used in e-commerce. The IoT, Internet of Things, is the future impact of the Internet on how we live and work. The greater range of devices connected to the Internet, and IoT is increasing as the cost of technology decreases, as there's an increased use of smartphones and apps allowing people more control in their lives. W3C is a global org ensuring the growth of the World Wide Web, providing a forum for discussion and education about the web working with the ITU. The standards for programming include CCS cascading style sheets, which is a standard for describing how HTML elements are to be displayed on a screen. HTML is a hypertext markup language and it's the standard markup language for creating web pages. Web accessibility is designed to work for all people, and the impact of disability is radically changed in the web because the web removes barriers. An intranet is a private, restricted and closed network communication system belonging to a company or organisation where only accessed by authorised members and staff or organisation, and it provides resources to access and use. Main functions have tools to facilitate collaboration and communication between employees. They enable file exchange and upload, messages to be broadcast across the company, provide information and learning opportunities, and provide a search functionality. HTML. HTML is a hypertext markup language and is a standard language for creating web pages and describes the structure of web pages. I.type HTML is a declaration defining the document to HTML5. HTML is an element of the root element of a HTML page. Head is the element containing the meta information about the document. Title is an element specifying the title for the document. Body is the element containing the visible page content. H1 is an element defining the large heading, and P is an element defining the paragraph. You must have the less than symbol to start the tag and a greater than symbol to end the tag for it to be viable, and then whenever you end the tag you put a / before you have your H1 or your P, etc. Anchor tag is such as a href equals, and then in quotations your URL, and then your alternative, this is a link which will be your text, and there's your end tag. An image tag is img src equals your image URL in quotations, then your alternative text that you want displayed if the image isn't there, as the text you want displayed. An example of width is 104, an example of height is 142. You don't need to have an end tag for your image tag. src is images defined with img tag file name and specified here. So example is img src equals img_girl.jpg. The alternative would be girl with a jacket, and then your break or br is defined as a line break, and it doesn't have an end tag either. Ordered list is OL type equals 1, and then you have your LI to start it, then your middle UK, and then you end it, and then you close your ordered list fully. So your unordered list is a new UL style equals list-style-type, and then colon this. You have to specify where you want discs or whatever. So you have LIDT, and then you close it, and you close your unordered list full. CCS, or it should be CSS. So CSS is cascading style sheet, and it describes how HTML elements are displayed on the screen, saving a lot of work. Inline is using style attribute, and HTML elements used to apply unique style to the single HTML element. So H1 style has it, so it means it's blue, and then you say it's a blue head, and then you close your tag. Internal is using the style element in the head section, so you go head and style, and then you specify your body, you want the background color to be blue, and you specify powder blue. And you go your head and you want it blue, and your paragraph you want it red, and you close your style and you close your head. External is using an external CSS file, looking at the entire website, changing one file not containing the HTML code, and it's saved with a .css extension on Notepad. So you go head, and then you link rel, your style sheet, and href is styles.css, and then you close your head fully. CSS font is with a color property defines a text color, font family property defines font, and font size property defines the text size. Encryption. Encryption is scrambling data in such way that only someone with a secret code or key can read it. The purpose is to pass a secret message from one place to another without anyone else being able to read it. A public key is available to everyone, but a private key is confidential and specific to a particular receiver. You encrypt using the public and decrypt using the private. The digital signature is when the receiver first verifies the signature using the sender's public key, ensuring the validity of the signature. The receiver then retries the data through decryption using their own private key. Digital certificate is when a CA provides an encrypted digital certificate connecting an individual or website with a particular public key. Then the trusted third party verifies the identity. The company asks for the certificate, and it gives information about the web server, and then the CA authenticate the information. CA is just the main base that does this. Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, or HTTPS, is encrypting data when being transferred across the internet. SSL Secure Socket Layer is opening a secure channel or encrypted link between two computers online. SSL certificates allow web browsers to trust a website so sensitive data can be transmitted safely. Doing online banking using SSL and HTTPS First, the client computer requests an SSL connection and the server answers and provides an SSL certificate containing the public key. Then the client computer validates the certificate and the public key. The client computer then generates a session key and submits it to the server, and the SSL connection is established. Client-side and server-side processing. Client-side processing is an interaction between a web page and code occurring directly on a user's computer. The advantage is its speed, so it's faster as the data on the client doesn't need to move across the internet. Security. Data cannot be intercepted in the way it moves across the internet. The disadvantage of the browser specific is that different browsers process scripts differently, so the web page owner isn't sure about how the web page will appear, and the computer speed. The web page owner is reliant on the processor speed of the client's computer. Server-side processing is when an interaction between a web page and computer is processed for a server. The advantage is that efficiency, so the information to process doesn't need downloading to the client's computer. It's browser independent, so it doesn't matter the browser as long as the user has the work done separately on a server. The speed is processing on a web server is so fast and more powerful than the computer. Disadvantage is that the security, when the data is transferred across the internet, is more risk of a security threat and overloading. A lot of users asking the web server to process data could overload the server and cause it to run slowly. Thank you for watching.